Hello, and welcome to Rory's Brainworks, where we get creative and see if it works. Today, you will notice already that Marie does not have her arms attached. What he said. The arms are already set up and prepared for our rope handcuff tutorials, our wrist restraints. And you may be asking yourself, but Rory, didn't you already make a rope handcuff tutorial? Yes, however, it is not up to my standard of quality that I have now. So, we are upgrading because I want to give you the best content possible. I don't want lax or subpar content out there. I want the best for you. And to get that best for you, you must take care of yourself. You can do so by SSC, safe, sane, and consensual safety. Be sure to have some safety shears with you at all times. You can always get new rope. You can't get a new life. And consensual. Marie and I and Crochet Rory are consenting adults. Communication is key. Now, before we deep dive into these tutorials, we must first thank my sponsor, Knothead
Knothead Nylon is the destination for all your premium nylon rope bondage needs. Easy to clean, water resistant, up to 1,100 pounds of weight load, and in a wide array of beautiful, vibrant colors, Knothead Nylon will slake your rope desires. At checkout, put in discount code RORY10 for 10% off.
Now, first up to bat, we have the single column braided cuff. Now, it is a cuff, so it goes to wrist to hand, but it's still utilizing a single column. Think of a column as an arm or a leg. A single column is one of them, a double column is both of them. I'm gonna start with 2 single columns, then I'm gonna go to some double columns for you. This one is one of my top favorite restraints and cuffs for a single column. Not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but it's easy and fun. So we're gonna start by taking the bight of our rope. We're gonna wrap it around our thumb just like that. And when you wrap, you don't want to wrap tightly. You don't want to pull on it. We're not trying to constrict the area. We're trying to restrict the area. Make it so it can't move and is bound. So we're going to wrap around. When we wrap around, we want to wrap around just about that part of the wrist because we're going to have more piling on top of it. First thing we're going to do, we're going to wrap around the wrist and then we're going to go up towards the fingers. Now at this point in time, you can have your rope model move their hands a little bit to make sure that the rope does not maintain a lot of tightness. The great part about this one is that you can practice on yourself a whole bunch. That way you know what it feels like. So once we've gone up towards the fingers, we're gonna wrap around and then we're going to follow the thumb rope. So the thumb rope goes back down towards the wrist, so that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna continually follow that rope, always beside it, and that will continue going down through all of it. Now you'll notice here we got 3 going down this way and 3 coming up this way. That is our end. So we're just gonna hold that right there to keep that secure while we do this other part of it where we take off the rope, that bite, and we're gonna put the tail ends of our rope through it, essentially creating a Larkhead or a girth hitch. There we go. Now we don't want to tighten it all that much, just enough to get it beyond the thumb right here. And then we're gonna wrap around these fingers right here. We're gonna push underneath and through. Then we're just gonna take them off these fingers and pull. Boom. That is that cuff secured. Because the girth hitch is not the one doing the cinching, it's not gonna tighten around the hand itself. Once we've pulled through that girth hitch, we basically created a munter hitch coming through here, and that is where the pressure goes. The pressure is gonna be centered around the tension on that knot right there. Then you have this as a lead. You can attach it to something, you can attach it to another body part, very versatile. And you always wanna make sure that you got a 4-finger pinky is what people look for. I like to have 4-finger in there. And it also looks pretty on the back. Now you will notice that it does not do a actual weave. It's kind of a braided cuff. Over. You can, if you want to be extra, you can weave through. So when it comes to this one right here, since its buddy went over and then under and should go over again, you can instead basically do the weave as you're going. I'll show you that real quick. Untying things so I can show you a weave. But we are reattached at the thumb. I'm gonna make sure that it is relatively loosey-goosey. Now that whole part, don't have to worry about weave, because it's already naturally doing it. We're following our neighbor rope. Since our neighbor rope went under, we're going over. Perfect. Now we're gonna wrap around. Now this is where we hit the first part of our weave. We want to make sure that it is still loose. Most of that looseness is gonna be coming from where we just were. We pulled around the thumb and down. Now once we go across the wrist, we want to make sure that this is actually just a little bit loose. before we weave. So our neighbor went over, so this one we have to send under. Now why we want it loose, because the weaving will cause extra tightness. Cool, there we go. Over, under, over. So saith the Rory. Follow in line with that. Keep following the neighbor rope, see where it goes. It went under, so we're gonna go over and then under this one right here. Now it is easier to just do it the other way, but this is, for that aesthetic purpose for it. You want to spend the extra effort, whether or not you're doing a photo shoot or what have you. So continue that weave through, and then you just end it the same way you would the first way we did it. Take off the thumb, put it through like a Larkhead, aka girth hitch. We're gonna wrap around those fingers. We're gonna go beneath and through. Take off the fingers. Oh yeah, tighten that up. And there you go. Now it's a little bit more weaved. Pretty cuff, pretty cuff. On to another single column variant that's a cuff like this. So this next one is a single column as well, is the single column bare cuff restraint. Bare cuff because it's basically bare bones as far as cuffs are concerned. It's relatively quick, but it is escapable. That is the problem. If you got someone really wiggly, you're gonna have to figure out a way to restrain them a little bit better. Might I recommend a double column, which we got coming up next. So for this one, we're gonna take the bite of our rope and we're gonna go down about 6 or 7 inches. 7 inches seems about right. And we are going to separate those, and then we're gonna take those areas and then we're gonna start twisting inward. And we're gonna twist inward about 3 to 4 times, which will give you that kind of look going on right there. You take the 2 loops that you have and you put them together. Actually, you'll have this rope right here, and then you have these little singular braids. That one needed one more twist. There we go, now it's even. And this part is the part that'll be going around the wrist. So you put it down there, and you cycle these braided areas down a little bit to get some tightness. You still want 1 to 2 fingers worth of space in there. And then what we're gonna do is you're gonna take it up towards this part of the thumb, between the thumb and forefinger, and you really wanna hug it inside this area. You would definitely want it about half an inch below the knuckles right here. And you're gonna go around, and then beneath there, pull the rope through. Perfect. Tighten that up a little bit. Stay in constant communication with your partner. Same thing. You wanna wrap around these fingers, go beneath it, and through this hole we created. The little loopy we created. Come off those fingers, and there we go. You can see how bare bones it is as far as a cuff is concerned. It's doable in a pinch, especially if you're not gonna be doing a scene that's too intensive. So I imagine after too long, this one becomes a little uncomfortable. It's still very good for me right here, but when you start pulling on it, restraining in it, it's gonna put a lot of pressure in this area on the inferior part of the knuckle right here, and probably a little bit on this side too. But for show, looks nice. It's quick, it's easy, but it's not good for escapers. If they got that other hand free while you're trying to do other stuff, they can just slip this part right off. But if you've restrained both the wrists and then have tied these to something, kind of makes that much more difficult because you have to bring your hand in there. I mean, I have a lot of hand dexterity, so I think I can get it. Yeah, I can. Not everyone can. But if you got a brat, if you got a wiggler, if you got an escape artist, the double columns, well, that's your bread and butter. So the first of these double column wrist restraints is going to be the Larkhead double column restraint. So we will take the bite of our rope, the middle of our rope, and we will go pass beneath the wrists. Keep our rope straight. Always, always, always want to keep your rope straight. And then we're going to pass through the bite, a Larkhead and or a girth hitch, as I call them around here. Now you don't want to tighten this too much. That's not the point there. You want to keep it relatively open. That's going to be important. So we're going to pass over and through again. And generally you want, 15 feet of rope. I only have my 30 feet of rope right now because my other 15 feet of rope that I have currently are white. And then that's just going to be a very stark on the background and foreground. Not the wisest idea. So this is the point generally where you would continue going through this little girthy part and wrapping around. I, however, like to have more of an oomph when it comes to these wrists. So you want to be closer to the wrist because we're moving further back this way. So we're going to pass over again, which has given us 3 layers, but we're going to go 1 more. How many layers you want to do is open to you and your partner. Now it's at this point in time when I come this way, I'm going to create an L and I'm going to go through the girth hitch we have right here. Now we're going to go down, around, and back up this way. We going down and around and back up this way. And as you can see, we're going to be putting ourselves through this L right here. The L that we had created, we're going to go underneath it and back around this way. Now we're going to go down and around and come back out this way. Now when it comes to this down and around, you can feel free to tighten it up just a little bit. You want to make sure that you still got 1 to 2 fingers worth of space between. You want to make sure that you still have 1 to 2 fingers worth of space between the rope and the wrist. The common misconception is that these have to be tight. In reality, you just have to make sure that these don't budge. You've created this space in the middle. That's the most important part, because this area right here with this space, that's not getting over the hands. Hands are too bulky to go back through these spaces right here, which is why you got that I can't get 2 fingers on this side. I can barely get 2 fingers on that side. That 1 to 2 finger space, because the bulk of the hands is not going to pass through that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the tail end of our rope and we're going to go through the middle, which will give us this little loop right here. Instead of passing the rope all the way through, we're going to take the tail end and we're going to stick it through the other side. This side, however, we are going to feed the tail of our rope through. Why, you might ask? Well, that's because we're going to put our rope through there, creating essentially another lark's head, another girth hitch. We can tighten that one up good. Now this is your lead. Now you can lead people around. The great part about it is if you pull on this, it's really going to pull on the lead, and it can only tighten this middle chunk area right here. It will not tighten what's going on over here. It will pull on the wrists and you can lead them there. And that is the Larkhead double column wrist restraint. Now, in line with the Larkhead double column wrist restraint, this is what the underneath looks like, which is much cleaner. So if you want to have something a little bit more aesthetic, say you're doing a photo shoot, so if you're looking for something a little bit more aesthetic, you can do it upside down. Say you want to do a photo shoot or put someone on display, you can do this one upside down because this is what the underside looks like. Now the problem is you can't tie it the way I showed you and then turn it upside down because of the blockage in the middle. However, you can learn to do it the other way around, technically upside down if you will, which gives you a much more clean look. The other side has that, this side a little bit more clean. Hey, that's up to you. Me, I do it upside down. I like that clean aesthetic look. I'm trying to make a joke, but I keep laughing beforehand. I like my bunnies looking like their wrists are restrained by farfalle noodles. It's stupid. Alright, moving on. This next one is the twisted double column wrist restraint. I actually learned this one from Twisted Monk. I'll put a description down below to their original video. What you want to do is find the ends of your rope and the middle of your rope, the bite of it, and you're going to take the 2 of them and cycle through the rope until you get in the middle of the strand, until you get in the middle of the double strand. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this, cross it over the top of the wrists, one of which is going to go under and around, and they'll cross over. One of which will take the job of going beneath the middle one, and the other one will take the job of going over it. It's quite comfortable, for the most part, at least I think so. Now we'll go around those respective parts again. Make sure that your ropes remain nice and straight. Always an important factor of it. Once you have a strand of rope that is twisted and these parts get to an area where it's going to have a lot of tension on it, it's going to be super uncomfortable. So always making sure that your ropes are straight is number one. Also noticing once again that we have not tightened this area. There's still a lot of room. That's going to be super important. Now once we've gone through again, we're actually going to twist these. Create a little twist, go down, around, and back up again. Now we've gone down, around, and back over again. We're going to add a little bit of tautness, but we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to go around, and we're going to finish it actually down on the bottom. So we've gone around again, pull the arms over. You can actually just end this with the 2 kinds of overhands. The first part of a square knot, tighten that up a little bit. At this point, we're tightening the middle, not cinching around the wrist. We're not tightening this way. We're not tightening horizontally. We're tightening vertically around these parts because we can still get 1 finger below them. First part of a square, and then I like to do an overhand because it gives me a little bit more control with cinching down on it. Now this can also still be used as a lead. We have the lead right here. Pull it through the hands a little bit. We have a lead that is pulling down through the palms. Pull, 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 pull. We're going to be putting pressure on the middle. Remember, we're always putting pressure on these middle portions. Never horizontal on the wrists. The wrists will always have space. That'll negate duress on the important parts, the important tendons, nerves, muscles, tissues that are inside the wrists, which we should always be thinking about. That's safety. It's key, it's important. I can only bring it up so much, especially when we start thinking about restraints. When you start looking at kimbaku, single and double column ties. Always very important. Preach it loud, preach it proud. Safety first, fun second. Well, hey! I hope you had a wonderful time learning those tutorials as much as I did teaching them to you. Marie has tried to go about her daily business without the use of her arms, and I could hear her fumbling around outside trying to do something. I'm sure she'll make it. She's only just armless and legless right now. I should go help her. What are you gonna do? You are a talking crochet doll. Who am I to question? Now, I'd be remiss if I did not bring up our other sponsors for today, the lovely people at Patreon. That's patreon.com/Rory's Brainworks, just like this YouTube channel. They are my rope vanguard, my colonizers of dreams, and without them, these rope endeavors would be way harder to accomplish. Thank you for spending your time with me. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this madness, and comment down below what kind of rope bondage things you would like me to teach you. As always, I'm Rory. This is my brain. I'm fairly certain it works. Be safe and go create some art.